Now I'm going to make monkey bread using the dough hook on the mixer. You can also do this by hand if you don't have a mixer. You just do everything in a bowl, same steps, with a wooden spoon. I warmed up 1.5 cups of milk, so put that in, along with 1/4 cup of sugar and 1 pack of yeast. Now we're just going to leave that set. Oops. Don't do that. And if you do, take it out, because it doesn't taste that good in monkey bread. So take it out and we'll let that rest. So to the yeast now, I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt, a 1/3 cup of melted butter, and 1 cup of flour. So I'm going to mix that up. Low speed. Just mix it up for like a minute maybe till it's mixed. Once that's mixed, add your remaining flour, which is 4 more cups. And you're going to mix it until all of the dough comes away from the sides, and then it's done. Probably takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. Now I forgot, this was behind my flour. You're also supposed to put in 2 eggs when you put in the 1st cup of flour. But because I forgot, I'm going to add it now, and then I'm going to continue beating the dough. Hopefully it didn't wreck anything. Okay. So as you can see, the dough is all around the dough hook. So I'm going to remove it. Still quite sticky at this point, but I take it over here to my floured surface, add a bit of flour, just so that I can knead it without it sticking to my hands. And it doesn't really need to be kneaded very long. That was the whole point of using that dough hook thing, which I don't normally use. I normally just do it by hand, but I just wanted to show you that it can be done. So once it's kneaded a little bit, this is an oiled bowl. Put your dough in all around so that all the surfaces are oiled. Then we're going to cover it. Now you can use a tea towel. This time I'm using saran wrap, and we want it to rest for about 2 hours away from draft, a relatively warm place. So I'm going to put it on the stove, and it will rise there for about 2 hours till it doubles in size. While the dough is rising, I'm going to do something for myself, and I'm going to go for a walk. See you in a bit. Okay, as you can see, the dough has risen. Should have been a slightly bigger bowl, but so it's been 2 hours. I had my walk. I met my friend Amanda from Brentwood. Had a good talk with her. Of course, 6 feet apart. So out of this, you're going to want to make 40 to 45 balls. About each ball is going to be about that big. So probably the easiest way is to divide the dough. So you know from each one you want to make at least 10 balls, and then that way you're going to get a more consistent size. Then I'm going to divide it in half. And I know from each piece I want to make at least 5 balls. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make the balls. And like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Roll it. I have melted butter here and about 1.5 cups of sugar. So that's about 1.5 cups. A tablespoon of cinnamon. Tablespoon of cinnamon. Mix that up. My hands are washed. I made sure I had a good scrub when I got back from my walk. That. So what we're going to do is dip the ball in butter and then roll it in the cinnamon sugar. Put it in the already prepared flute pan. So this one I've done lots of butter, and Adriana put walnuts and pecans. So we're going to do 40 to 45 of these. Just layer them throughout the pan and do it as you go along. Balls are in, so I ended up making about 41 balls. Now again we're going to let it rest, but this time, I'm going to cover it, but this time only for about 20 minutes. So now the very last is the coating that we're going to put on. 1/4 cup of butter, and because I had leftover butter, about 1/4 cup from when I was doing the coating with the sugar, I'm just going to use that. Add 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 3/4 cup of brown sugar, that's going to make like a caramel type flavor. So we're just going to spread it around. Then it goes into the oven, preheated oven, 350 for 35 to 45 minutes until it's nice and golden brown. So that's that step. So we'll put it in the oven and see you in a bit. So the monkey bread is done, I'm hoping. I had a bit of a disaster. I was cooking the monkey bread down in my own kitchen, and as you can see, the pan is quite full and it bubbled over, and so when I go down to check on it, it makes like toxic smoke. I was like choking to death. The fire alarm went off. So hopefully this turned out after all that. So you take it out, you let it cool 5 or 10 minutes, then invert it on a plate. While that is coming out, we're going to make the glaze. So it's 1 cup confectioner's sugar, otherwise known as icing sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and about 3 tablespoons of milk. So if it's not quite at the consistency I want, I'll put a little bit more. Because the whole thing is we want to pour it over the monkey bread. I'm just going to whisk it up. Oops. I'm a kind of a messy cook. Lucky I also clean. So that looks like a good pouring consistency. So that's all mixed up. Hopefully the monkey bread has come out of the pan, so we'll check that. Not quite yet. Oh, there it comes. Ooh. Well, that's not too bad. Only one piece stayed stuck in. So we'll just take that piece out. Stick it back in there. So there's our monkey bread. And now the glaze. So we're just going to pour it over top of the warm monkey bread. So there's our monkey bread made with fresh dough as opposed to dough, the biscuit dough that you buy from the store. So there's a few things I wanted to mention with the monkey bread. If it seems like it's sticking a bit, you can push the knife around before you invert it so that it comes out nice. It has to be cooked on the lowest setting of your oven, like the lowest level. And if it starts to brown before the time is up, you can always loosely cover it with foil.